If you've recently found out that you are going to be the executor or personal representative of an estate, and in that estate there is a home to sell, you might be asking yourself, well, at what point do I call a real estate professional? Do I call them right now? Do I call them later? And if I call them later, how much later should I be waiting? So in today's video, we're going to go over some points that I'd like to give you of when it's a good time to pick up the phone and start that conversation with a real estate professional. Because believe it or not, the earlier, the better. That way it just kind of takes a little stress off your plate. Okay, point number one is going to be right after the person passes away, believe it or not. Even before probate's open, there are times that I actually talk to people before the person has even passed away. So in other words, they're in a position of being the power of attorney, the person's really sick, or maybe they're in hospice and they're already thinking, okay, we better get this done before they pass away. But I have to tell you, most of the time the person ends up passing away before we even get the home on the market. So then we just pivot. And if they don't have a trust, then we get the probate process started. So do know that that can take some time, but just know that that's what a real estate agent, a good one's going to be there to help you along that path. So don't think that you have to wait for probate to be open and that you have to wait till you have your letters testamentary or your letters of administration. Those are both documents that you would get from the courts saying, yep, here you go, you're legal to make decisions about the property. You can call an agent way before that. You're just getting a conversation started. You're not signing anything at that point, but it helps get them involved so they can help guide you through the process. You don't have to list the house necessarily at this point. In fact, you can't until you get the probate documents, but at least start getting some help and some education. So at this stage, a good probate agent, they're going to help you kind of understand what's the value of the home. You're going to need to know that, especially at the beginning after someone passes away, because you need the value at the time that the person has passed. So if the attorney needs something more than like what's called a BPO or a broker price opinion, they can refer you to an appraiser. Every real estate agent that is in the estate or probate part of business, they're definitely going to have an appraiser that they can refer you to. And then they're going to start talking to you about the condition of the home, what your options are at that point. Is there a timeline that we need to be looking at? And are there any questions that we can help answer for you about the property that maybe the courts or your attorney are asking? Again, you're not committed to anything at this point. You're just getting a hand to hold to kind of get the process started, if that makes sense. And so there's no reason to wait till probate actually is open. You can get those conversations started very early on. Number two, obviously, once the personal representative has officially been appointed. So the courts are going to provide to you what's called letters testamentary or letters of administration. Those are both documents that they provide that basically just say, you're the personal representative, and you sign it and you say, yep, I'm the personal representative. So at that point, you can start signing contracts and signing on behalf of the estate. And this is where things kind of start to shift a little bit. We're not just exploring options, we're actually preparing at this point. So we're going to start talking about whether or not the house needs to be cleaned out, what needs to go, what maybe doesn't need to go. Sometimes we walk into homes that are very impeccably cared for, and I'm like, oh, please don't take the furniture out. Let me at least get photos done before we do anything with the furniture. And sometimes, depending on the neighborhood, we can even sell the home with the furniture in it. So conversations, again, that you want to have early on. And then are there any repairs that are worth making? Or is the home in pretty bad condition and we just need to sell it as is? So conversations we need to have. Let's see. We also have mortgage. So sometimes at the very early on conversations, the documentation hasn't been found yet, excuse me, regarding whether or not there's a mortgage. Is there a reverse mortgage, or is the home owned free and clear? So that way we can kind of help you figure out what that house is actually going to net after it closes. At least we can have an estimate of what the estate will net once the house sells. And then finally, we want to make sure at that point we're talking to any decision makers and make sure that everybody's on the same page. Which leads us into point number three. If the heirs or siblings are having conflict or can't make a decision about whether or not to sell the property. There are times that I get involved and I'm like the litigator 3 of the 4 siblings are like, we need to sell the house. Mom wanted us to sell the house. There's not enough money in the state to take care of the house. But then you have the one sibling over here going, no, we need to keep it as a, VRBO or an Airbnb. And that's when the real estate agent can come in and go, okay, you're not in a neighborhood that allows for them. Maybe there's HOA restrictions. Or we could say, this particular area isn't good for Airbnb or a VRBO because it's nowhere near facilities. Especially here in the Phoenix area, we have spring training and all, you want to make sure your property is very close to something like that. So sometimes we're just bringing the facts. We don't have the emotion involved as the siblings do. So it's very easy for us to stay the neutral third party, bring the facts in, and then help kind of diffuse the situation with the siblings. And so that way cooler heads can come to terms with what the best decision is for the property. Number 4, obviously, when you're ready to list the property. But timing matters here. Sometimes I walk into a situation and they've called me and they're in the middle of a kitchen remodel or replacing the floors or something that I'm like, what's going on here? Like, you're spending the estate's money to get some of these things done and maybe they didn't need to be done. So that's why it's really important that you call earlier. Don't wait until you're like, okay, we got all the remodel done, we're ready to go. And now, bom, 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 you've spent way too much money and that estate is not going to recoup that money. So get us involved a little bit earlier, not when you're ready. You've spent money, you're ready to put the house on the market. Number 5 is when you don't live in the same city or state as the property. Or you don't have the bandwidth to deal with it. This happens a lot here. You could live on the other side of the valley of the property. More often than not, I am talking to people who their family member owned an investment property here or a second home. And so I get involved very early on with those because I'm suddenly their eyes and ears here on the ground. We're doing Zoom videos, we're doing FaceTimes at the house. I'm getting the locks changed. I'm getting a no trespassing sign. I kind of take the weight on for the people so they don't have to fly in and out to try to manage things all the time, especially if it's a second home. You don't want that home sitting vacant. If there's tenants in there, that's one thing. If it's an investment property and there's tenants in it, we can help navigate that. But for the most part, if you do not want that house sitting vacant for a long period of time, because that can just bring other issues down the road. And that I've already covered that in a couple other videos. I'll make sure that I pin those in the comments below or in the description below. So just know, if you're wondering if it's too early to call an agent, it's not. The sooner the better. We want to make sure that we're helping you through this process and taking some things off your plate so it's not so stressful on you. Every decision doesn't have to be made ahead of time before you actually call the agent. Let us help you make those decisions through the process. And once you've made a decision, you probably should tune into last week's video. I'm going to definitely pin that above and put it in the description because I provided some exceptional questions for you to ask a real estate professional prior to you hiring them. There are some questions there you would have never even thought to ask. And because that's what I do for a living, I'm a real estate agent here in the Phoenix metro area, who better to give you those questions to ask? And that's why we covered this as well, because I deal with this on the daily, or not the daily, probably monthly or so. But anyway, you understand that when we do this job for a profession, we want to make sure we get this information in front of you so that you're making good decisions, because we don't want you stressing out. We want to be able to help you through this process. And then next week, we are going to start talking about estate sale companies, when you should hire one. And then the next week, the week after that, I'm going to cover what kind of questions to ask them. So do make sure you subscribe and make sure you hit that bell to notify you when those episodes drop. And if you got any value out of this episode, I would love it, love it, love it. So would my viewers if you could give me a good like or a thumbs up. Whenever you like a video, it kind of helps the algorithm to make sure that this video is showing up for people that are searching for this kind of information. And lastly, if you have anything that you need help with, do drop it in the comments. I'm happy to try to find answers for you. And if I don't know the answer, I will see if I can't find out for you. If you need my help here in Phoenix area, don't hesitate to reach out. And if you are not in the Phoenix metro area and you need help finding a good agent that can help you with your estate or probate property, also reach out. I have a network of agents that I work with all over this country that I'm happy to get you in touch with. And that's it. Until next week, have a good day.